prospects look stronger. I was there a couple of weeks ago. There's more optimism in the air, whether you're in France or in Germany. The Fed expansion of the balance sheet, once we get past the turn of the year, there's going to be a lot of liquidity, dollar liquidity that banks aren't going to need. Going further, the ECB, which meets tomorrow, seems to be shifting from its reliance on negative rates, which arguably are past their sell-by date, and much more welcoming of fiscal stimulus. And my sense of the discussion on the continent is that the money managers, private sector people are sort of on board with that kind of shift in the monetary policy emphasis. So overall, we see a stronger euro next year. Positioning is short euro, it's not long euro, so that should help as well.
All right, so we'll leave it there, and obviously interesting one to watch ahead of the ECB meeting tomorrow. Steve Englander, the global head of G10 FX Research and North America Macro Strategy at Standard Chartered. Now, for the fourth time in U.S. history, a president is facing impeachment charges. The House of Representatives has formally announced 2 articles of impeachment against President Trump. Proceedings may begin as soon as next week, and Mr. Trump is not backing down, calling the process political madness. NBC's Tracy Potts joined us from Washington. And Tracy, can you just walk us through the timeline here? How likely is it really that we see the House formally impeach the president by year end?
Highly likely that it will happen before year's end, Juliana. In fact, it's likely it will happen next week before the holiday break. The process here is debate in a committee tonight, a committee vote in the morning, and a full and final vote on impeachment expected and likely next week. The House of Representatives is controlled by Democrats, and they have been orchestrating and pushing this effort to impeach the president, so it's likely to happen. What's not likely to happen is President Trump eventually being found guilty and being removed from office, because our Constitution says that process has to happen in the Senate, which is controlled by his party, Republicans, and they are already saying that they do not expect 20 Republicans to cross party lines and vote against this president based on the evidence that they've seen so far. That evidence of 2 articles of impeachment, or charges essentially: obstruction of Congress for not allowing White House officials to testify and cooperate with the investigation, and abuse of power for the so-called quid pro quo, forcing a Biden investigation by Ukraine, his political rival Joe Biden, in exchange for holding aid from Ukraine. President Trump at a rally last night said this is impeachment light, that he thinks Democrats don't have a case because they wholly ignored possible charges of bribery and anything about the Russia investigation. Juliana?
Tracy, thank you so much for bringing clarity to what is a complex system over in the U.S. when it comes to this impeachment process. Well, let's take a look at U.S. futures before we hand you over to our colleagues stateside. We are in for a muted start to trade. The S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq all just looking at single-digit moves at the open.
But that is it for our show today. I'm Joanna Versace.
I'm Juliana Tattlebaum. Worldwide Exchange coming up next.
Most people think of Verizon as a reliable phone company.
But to businesses, we're a reliable partner. We keep companies.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds, or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
MSNBC is on TuneIn. Get up-to-the-minute coverage on news and events from around the world with MSNBC's live 24/7 station on TuneIn. At home or on the go, stay up to date on the latest news and political trends with MSNBC's full lineup of shows, including Hardball with Chris Matthews.
Hi, I'm Chris Matthews. Thanks for listening to MSNBC on TuneIn.
And The Rachel Maddow Show. Plus, when news breaks, MSNBC has you covered with live updates, expert analysis, and more. Search MSNBC on TuneIn today.
Cutting for the net. Scores! On the goal line, Marchand scores!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
And tucks it home!
And with this team, it's really fun to be a part of a team like that.
And you can hear the action live on TuneIn Premium. From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Want to hear about the latest and greatest things to listen to on TuneIn? For reminders of the biggest live sports games, debates, and breaking news stories, follow @TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay connected with the audio that matters to you.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught, it is in for the right side for the touchdown to Keenan.
Search NFL today.
Introducing a new podcast, ESPN Daily. When you want to go beyond your feed, when you want to get inside the score, when you want to get behind the highlight, there's ESPN Daily. Go deeper into the stories of the moment. Get the exclusive access and insider perspective that only ESPN can give you. ESPN Daily, hosted by me, Mina Kimes. Listen now to ESPN Daily on TuneIn.
The pressure is on. Jay Powell back in the limelight as the Fed delivers its latest policy decision. That happens later on today. $1.8 trillion and beyond. The world's largest IPO surging past expectations on its first day of trading. We've got a live report from Saudi Arabia coming up. And delay to a deal. Investors hopeful following reports the U.S. will kick the can on a December 15th tariff hike in China. But will they? We'll find out. Facebook falling. Why a new report says the social media giant is no longer one of the best places to work. And Steinbrenners strike again. The Yankees inking the largest contract ever for a major league pitcher. All of this as Worldwide Exchange begins right now. Good morning and welcome to the show. I'm Dominic Chu in today for Brian Sullivan. Stock futures right now pointing to some muted moves at least. The major averages trying to snap a two-day losing streak all remain negative for the month of December so far. And as you can see here, the Dow would open up just about 4 points to the upside. The S&P up about 1 point and the Nasdaq 7 points. A lot of stability as we head towards that big Fed decision later on today. Now, if you take a look at the overall market, we are seeing some signs here on the Treasury side of things. Movement there to the downside, 1.816% the last trade on benchmark 10-year U.S. government note yields, 2-year note yields, 1.636%, all ahead of that Fed meeting as well. Let us now go worldwide. In the Asian trade, a generally positive session there, as you can see with the major bourses. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong up 0.75%, the Shanghai Composite 0.25%, and the Kospi in South Korea 0.33%, just about flat for the Nikkei in Japan. Now, in the European trade, we are seeing a little bit of that positivity take hold as well for some of the bourses at least. The German DAX up 0.1%, but the CAC in France off 0.25%, and the FTSE 100 just about flat on the day as well. Let's get a look at some of the other top stories that we are following today. Rahel Solomon joins us now with those. Good morning, Rahel.
Hi, good morning, Dom. So the FAA is reportedly moving toward creating a new safety branch
to address gaps in its oversight. So this comes in the wake, of course, of those deadly crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX. The FAA has come under scrutiny for its approval process for that aircraft. So FAA Administrator Steve Dixon, he's going to be testifying before Congress today. But before he heads to Capitol Hill, he will be on Squawk Box in an exclusive interview at 8 a.m. Eastern, so be sure to tune in for that. Goldman Sachs believes the U.S. economy is picking up speed again after a lackluster start to the year. In an interview on CNBC, Goldman President and COO John Waldron said, that's due to easier monetary policy from the Fed and also the resilience of the consumer. He argues those factors are helping to offset weaker business spending. And speaking of business spending, General Motors is making a big bet on big SUVs. The automaker unveiling the newly redesigned Chevy Tahoe and Suburban. Take a look at these. Both are longer than previous models. GM says as the industry moves more towards electric vehicles, profits from these large SUVs will help pay for those investments. GM controls about 70% of the large SUV market in North America. But those don't even look real. They're huge.
Are you an SUV driver?
I'm not.
You're not?
No. We've had this conversation. The largest car I will drive is my mom's Nissan Murano.
I am an SUV owner,
Yes.
but mine's a 4Runner, so it's not quite as large as a Tahoe or Suburban.
Okay.
But I'm thinking to myself, I might want to upgrade.
You want to drive one of those
I
in
think
the city of New York?
I think it might be good. And as fuel prices keep coming down, I might be a bigger buyer of one of those.
So they got something for you.
All right, Rahel Solomon, thank you very much for those updates. Well, back on Wall Street, investor attention turning now to Fed Chairman Jay Powell. Will he deliver the central bank's final policy decision today? Yes, he will, in about just under 9 hours. So joining me now is Avalon Investment and Advisor CEO Bill Stone. Bill, always a pleasure to have you here in the mornings. Let's talk about that Fed meeting. The expectation is nothing happens. The Fed has made it very clear they're on hold. So what is it that can happen today that could either be that big upside catalyst or downside catalyst, or is this steady as she goes?
I think, even before the payrolls report, it was likely, they were on hold. They were saying that after that payrolls report, there's no chance of any move whatsoever. I think people are going to be watching the dot plot, to be honest. If that excites you, sure, watch it. But the fact is, I think you probably can pay a little less attention to this one than normal, because they don't really know where they're exactly going next. Again, until further notice, I think hold is what you should assume.
All right, so you mentioned that dot plot, a.k.a. the Fed's forecast of future conditions. It's when all the members kind of sit around and they give their forecast. They think, what are rates going to be in the future? Do you think that anything can be said or gleaned from that dot plot that would indicate any change in trajectory for the Fed in 2020 with regard to their rate plans?
While you may see a few, showing some sort of, wishes, I'll say, of a hike in 2020, what we've learned is what they think, pretty far in advance and what actually happens can be extremely different. So while, you might see some reaction and obviously some people talking about if you show some of the plots showing more hikes or a hike even, maybe it gets some press in terms of talking about it. But at the end of the day, I don't think the market really will react much because, again, I think, we've learned not to read too much into it because they just don't really know what the path will be. I think a lot of it really, you were talking about earlier, market or the economy seems to be firming up somewhat. If we continue to firm up and see the inflation pick up, they will hike, but we have to see that first.
All right, let's talk about what the markets will react to. Trade is obviously one of them. We've seen some of the moves over the course of the past couple of weeks and months now at this stage. What exactly needs to happen? What is priced into the market right now? And what is it that could happen that could possibly derail the near record highs the market continues to sit at this stage?
Yeah, so I think I don't know if it's fully priced in that we get some sort of a détente, but certainly a good percentage is priced in. I think what derails it is if you get an escalation, so if you get really a look like you're going to continue to see tariffs get ratcheted up over time. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen. Again, I think you saw even yesterday we had conflicting headlines. I expect we're going to have conflicting headlines for a while here until we get the final decision. But, the market didn't really go anywhere because I think part of what's helped us stay a little bit more stable despite the, cross currents is that the economy has gotten a bit better. We're no longer, at least seemingly, teetering on the edge of recession, which that's part of what was really the worrisome part about the trade war was that, the economy was slowing down. The worry was push too hard on the trade war. That was going to tip us over. We've come kind of away from the edge. So while it's on net good to get done with the trade war and hopefully that'll pick up both the U.S. economy and the global economies, it's probably not that thing that is looked at to tip us down if we don't, get a deal right now.
So, Bill, if that's your base case out there, that the economy still grows, things are kind of okay and constructive for 2020, where's the best place to be then? Where is there going to be the outperformance, the alpha, come 2020?
Yeah, so I think one is, stay on the cyclical side of the equation. So the industrials, consumer discretionary, things we've been really talking about for most of the year. I think that continues to be more attractive versus kind of the staples. Things that you would put at utilities, things you'd be in if you thought things were slowing down. The other part that we've just, over the last few weeks started to talk about was really small caps. So I think small cap stocks here in the U.S. have gotten more interesting. They've lagged really year to date, but have started to pick up steam here. Why have they? Well, I think one of it is you've seen the economy picking up. When the yield curve steepens, it typically helps small banks. Small banks are the biggest component of the small cap stock index. So I think that's a place to really think about as you think the economy, if you agree with us, that the economy is probably picking up a bit of mojo here.
All right. Bill Stone with the small caps. Thanks very much for joining us. We always appreciate those thoughts. When we come back on the show, we go live to Saudi Arabia for the latest on what is now officially the world's largest IPO in history ever. Plus, much more on what to expect from the Fed later on today and, of course, beyond. We've got former Dallas Fed President Richard Fisher joining us later on this hour. And then later on in the show as well, if you've got $53,000 and it's burning a hole in your pocket, Apple's got a computer to sell you. Yes, a computer for that much money. A very busy hour still ahead when Worldwide Exchange returns after this.
Ah, Christmas. A time for celebrating, unwrapping and unwinding. Capture every moment with an epic iPhone 6s with a 12-megapixel camera. Now only $12.99 a month from Tesco Mobile, saving you £72. It's just one of the ways we're celebrating 100 years of great value. Go in store or search Tesco Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Saving £2 per month over 36 months was £14.99. 36-month credit and rolling monthly usage agreements required. Subject to status. Terms apply. See tescomobile.com/terms.
The Honda Jazz. The car that feels fabulously small on the outside, yet deceptively big on the inside, with its incredible storage solutions and magic folding seats. Not to mention the suite of advanced safety features. And now with the small but big Jazz event, it's available with 0% APR representative and 5 years complimentary servicing until January 31st. Visit your local dealer to find out more. Honda dealers are credit brokers, not lenders. Finance provided by Honda Finance Europe, authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Terms and conditions apply.
Ever feel bogged down by your business accounts? Say goodbye to that mountain of receipts and hello to simple solutions from Sage. We're the UK's #1 for managing finance, operations, and people, and we can support you to free up your future with smarter bookkeeping that automates repetitive tasks, dramatically reducing the time you spend typing in data. Join over 1 million British businesses who trust Sage to make it simple. Find out more at sage.com/automate.
Rainy, 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 rainy.
Sergey, why are you in such good mood?
It's raining.
And?
Rain means we take meal pups to cinema. And cinema means they'll be entertained.
Ah, and entertained means they're also quiet for a couple of hours. Oh, let's go. Enjoy 2-for-1 cinema tickets from Meerkat Movies when you buy through Compare the Market.
Qualifying purchases Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Participating cinemas. 2 standard tickets only. Cheapest ticket free. T's and C's apply.
On the goal line, scores! He takes it home!
Hockey fans, the 2019-20 NHL season is here.
Here's Pietrangelo, he scores!
And you can hear the action live live on TuneIn Premium.
Move, and a shot, and he stops!
From regular season action to the All-Star Game and through the Stanley Cup in June. Hear the home and away call for every game, for every team live. At home or on the go, never miss a game with the NHL on TuneIn Premium.
Upgrade today.
Welcome back to the show. Saudi Aramco is now officially the world's largest IPO, surging past expectations in its public market debut this morning. As you can see, there's some of the shots from the bell ringing. Hadley Gamble joins us now live from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia with the latest. And Hadley, what can you tell us? The last I heard, it was limit up 10% on those shares.
An incredible morning, Dom, for this IPO, and certainly within this historical contest, what we've seen over the last 4 years since Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, did announce that he would be taking Aramco to market. So much water under the bridge. Remember, of course, he was expecting 5% of the company to list. They were talking about a valuation northwards of $2 trillion. Today, at least, it seems as if Saudi Arabia getting a bit of its own back, even though it has been a local listing. As you mentioned, we're talking about trading up 35.2 Saudi riyals per share. That's about $950 US. The valuation upwards of $1.8 trillion. A lot of folks we've been speaking to externally and internally telling me that over the next few days we could see this reach as much as that $2 trillion valuation that the Crown Prince so desperately wanted. All of that, of course, against the backdrop, frankly, of a lower price environment for oil, something we've been talking about so often in the last couple of weeks, particularly with the Saudi Arabia energy minister. Last week when I spoke to him first on CNBC, I said, how much is this playing in not just to the budget of this country, but also in terms of the Aramco listing? He said, when the day that Aramco lists will be the greatest day of my life. I think it's also interesting to note that the difference between the retail and the institutional investors, 5 million Saudis decided to back this Aramco IPO. That's 13% of the population of this country. Certainly indicative, at least internally, of the support for Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and for the company itself. Dom?
All right, so Hadley, speaking of support, you mentioned the investor base in Saudi Arabia itself. Is there a sense right now that because of the low float nature of this IPO, obviously with a $1.7, $1.8 trillion company, they didn't put a lot of shares out for sale, maybe less than 2% of the overall company. There are also incentives for many of the investors locally to keep those shares. So is there a sense that there might be a structural reason why this stock can go higher just because of the lack of availability of the stock and incentives for locals to actually hold the shares long term?
No doubt, Dom, because at the end of the day, this is a process that's been in many ways rigged by the government to make sure that this was, we talk about Aramco so often as too big to fail. So certainly in terms of this Aramco IPO, this listing, this, historical moment for the country and the country's crown prince, there was no doubt that they were going to make sure that this went off well. Another thing you've got to remember is it isn't unusual for Saudi government-backed institutions to step into the market if they feel that the market is falling unnecessarily. There is, of course, a 10% limit upside or downside to any stock that trades on the Tadawul. But I have to mention that this is something that we saw, of course, around the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. We saw the government really stepping in there in terms of beefing up the market. We saw that again, of course, around the incident surrounding the Riyadh Ritz-Carlton roundup. But I got to tell you, in terms of the investment case for this company and certainly the feeling that we're getting on the ground here, a lot of enthusiasm for this stock. Dom?
All right, that enthusiasm could translate into day two of gains as well. We'll keep an eye on that. Hadley Gamble live in Riyadh. Thank you very much for the latest on Saudi Aramco. Well, still on deck for the show, turnover at the top. New numbers this morning on the record-breaking year for C-suite shakeups. Plus, why our mystery chart of the day could have some investors saying game over. Worldwide Exchange is back right after this.
Our gift to you is...
Tis the season to be hunched over your laptop. Not on our watch. In real life, you can fill your senses and your baskets. Feel all the sights, sounds, lols, and OMGs. Wear laughing emojis on actual smiley faces. Battery is running low. Take the kids to Santa's Grotto. In real life, you can find just the right present using the most advanced search engine in the world. Your eyes. We can't in real life. Brent Cross, London. Free parking for all sleighs and cars.
So do you really think your party's manifesto is plausible, or is it just an election bribe?
Get an in-depth look at all the main party manifestos. From public services to immigration, the Times and the Sunday Times will guide you through. Pick up your copy today or visit thetimes.co.uk.
On 3, our unlimited data is actually unlimited. Like 4 reels,
None of this. We're so unlimited. But nuh-uh, you can't watch your fave Christmas film endlessly. Or dead scroll inspo for tree decorations until 4 in the morning. We wouldn't do that to you.
We have no speed limits, no data caps, and you'll be 5G ready at no extra cost.
Ho, ho, ho.
Switch to 3, in-store or online. See 3.co.uk/unlimited-data.
Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today. Hey, NFL fan, can't watch the game? Can't be there? No biggie. With your TuneIn Premium membership, you already have an all-access pass to every team and every game in the league. Amazing, right?
Steps up, floats it towards, at the goal line, it's intercepted!
Listen live as the action unfolds or on demand when you can. Anytime, anywhere, all season long.
Right side, it is caught. It is in for the right side for the touchdown.
Search NFL today.
Welcome back to the show. Let's get a check on some of the other big stocks on the move today. We've got Chevron taking a charge of at least $10 billion in the fourth quarter. Lower oil and gas prices in the long term will reduce the value of its overall assets. More than half of the write-down is related to gas drilling operations in Appalachia. Chevron says it will reduce spending on some projects and could sell some assets and those shares off about 0.25% pre-market. Chevron CEO Michael Wirth will be on Squawk Box in an exclusive interview 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, a must-see interview given everything that's happening with the energy market overall. Now, shares of Ollie's Bargain Outlet are soaring today. The discount retailer reporting better than expected earnings and revenues. Ollie's also promoting John Swigert from interim to permanent CEO. He took over after the death of company founder Mark Butler earlier this month. Those shares up 11.5%. And then GameStop reporting a surprise loss as same-store sales fell 23%. The company is also cutting its full-year profit forecast as it struggles with the shift to digital downloads of video games. As a result, those shares off 15% pre-market. Well, straight ahead on the show, why we are live in Washington, where articles of the impeachment are making the